Hey ladies, so today I want to go over like really way more into the containers than what we have already. I know the first day I gave you like a brief overview of like what our bodies need in terms of like macros. And once again, just to review that, we need 30% fats, 30% protein, and 40% carbs. That is what scientifically our bodies run off of optimally. And I will discuss other options that you see out there on the internet and just kind of talk about those a little bit here in detail. But I want to talk about what this system does first. So if you have ever been scrolling the internet and you've been looking for nutrition things, the thing that I've seen the most is what's called macros, where people are following their macros. And this works. What macros is you're eating your food in proportion, 30, 30, 40, just like I just explained. When they're talking about doing macros, they are figuring that out for themselves. They'll get like an app where they like MyFitnessPal or something like that, and they will figure out what a food is, and they will go over it, and they will put it into a category, and then they'll weigh their food, they'll measure their food, and then they make sure they get enough for their goals. And so their goals could be only gaining muscle, their goal could be just burning fat, their goal could be to gain muscle while burning fat. There's a lot of different ways that you can use macros to meet your goals and calculate that for your body's needs. So just so you know, that's what these containers are. These containers are macros, but they have made it so simple. And the funny thing is, the reason why these are macros is because the creator of them, who's Autumn Calabrese, who I get my training from, she did bikini competitions, and this is how she learned to eat in order to meet her goals to walk across that stage in a bikini and get judged. I don't ever plan on doing that, but I do know that I have the tools to look that way if I want to. And it's working, just so you guys know. Like, I'm incredibly content with the way that my body has taken shape in a healthy way while I'm eating tons of food that fuels my body and not just restricting calories. So just a side note, if you know someone who's always talking about calories and always talking about restrictions, please tell them about this, and please tell them to get in this group or something and learn about this so that they can quit living in a restrictive lifestyle and live a life of food freedom. That is the goal. My goal for everyone I come in contact is to empower women to live in freedom and not in restriction. So let's start going over this. What you'll do is when you get these containers, you will calculate your needs. A lot of us will fall in plan A, B, or C usually. I'm currently in plan B because I'm not trying to lose weight. I'm trying to maintain my weight, and so that way I can build some muscle. And with that plan, if I remember correctly, hold on, I have to look. It says it in our guidebook. Basically, it just gives you a calculation to do. I'm on plan B, and so I get 4 of these per day. So with 4 vegetable containers per day, you sit there and you go, okay, so like, what do? You just like stuff vegetables in there? Yes, you can. You absolutely can eat a raw vegetable diet. I eat probably about half of my veggies raw every day. In my Shakeology shake that I'll tell you about later, I put an entire cup of spinach in that. So that's one way I get my vegetables every day without tasting it. I promise you cannot taste spinach once it's been pureed. And then I also really love carrots, like the baby carrots or the carrot chips that have been sliced into carrot chips. And I'll fill that up in here, and then I'll eat it with hummus, which goes in here. And so that way I know I'm getting exactly what I need, which hummus is a fat just because it has a lot of olive oil in it, and even though it has chickpeas. So yeah, it's really interesting. You really start to learn what foods are and what they are categorized as and how they fuel your body once you start learning this program. It's super, super cool. So you're like, okay, well, how do I know? The cool thing is you'll get these food container lists. So this is the green, and I can fill this green container with anything in this list. I just go down there, and then I find things I like, and I go to the supermarket and I buy them, or I put them in my click list now. That's what we all do. Here's the purple, and I get 3 of those a day. Here's the red. I get 4 of these a day. Same thing with the yellow container. I get 3 yellow containers per day, so I just go down there. My blue container, and then my orange container, and then these are in my teaspoons, which are my oils and nut butters. So plenty of options for every single container. There are some things that count as free foods They are mostly spices because spices have no calories. They have nutrient value, but no calories, which is really, really cool. And then how to spice up your water and how to have coffee and tea. You can still have coffee and tea on this plan. You just can't have like mochas and sugary lattes and things that are going to completely give you no nutrient value. Just so you guys know, like an average 16-ounce beverage from like Starbucks or your favorite coffee shop has about 250 calories. And if you're eating, like my plan is about 1,800 calories a day, like do the math there, like that's a lot of my calories that I can get in a day for zero nutrients. And my focus is on the nutrients. I want the most nutrient dense foods possible. So I want to get rid of those things and put in nutrient dense foods. Here's what's really cool too about these lists. So I'll just use this one as an example since it's a little bit easier to read. So these foods are in order. They're actually in a specific order for a reason. The ones at the top of the list have the most nutrient dense value, which means that they will keep you fuller longer because they have more nutrients. So like the top of the fruit list, did you know that raspberries are the most nutrient dense fruit that you can get on a normal basis in a supermarket? The most nutrient dense veggie is kale, which obviously I'm not expecting you guys to eat that every single day, but if you could get it in every once in a while, it's the most nutrient dense. And it goes on and on and on. So for all of these, like for carbs, the most nutrient dense carb you can have is a sweet potato, which I'm sure that does not surprise you guys. But anyways, the more you eat from the top of the list, the more you are dialed in on your nutrition. So that's what's really cool about this is you really learn about food. This is not learning, I weigh this much and I want to weigh this much, and so I need to cut this many calories. This is, I'm going to learn about food so that I can enjoy it and get excited that I'm eating a red bell pepper that has more vitamin C than an orange in it. Like those are the kinds of things you're going to learn on this. And it's exciting. Okay, I promise. Like you think I'm geeking out, you're going to be geeking out with me. So what's really cool is you will get a cookbook if you decide to go with, along with us through the program. You will get a cookbook. It will actually be newer than this. This is the old cookbook. My new cookbook is on the way. I'm really excited about it, but I wanted to show you how it works. So first of all, this is Fixate. This is the program that she created. The Ultimate Portion Fix is what we've been talking about. These containers are what she talks about. You can see them here on the counter. Once again, she created this because she was a bikini competitor and it made sense to her. Macros made sense to her because it's scientific and it's proven over a long course of time. And so she was like, people need this in their homes. Like this is not that hard that people can't learn this and completely change their families with it. So I wanted to show you like some recipes in here and I'll find my favorite one. Let me find my favorite one. So these are my favorite. These are the banana oat pancakes. And so, I mean, look how stinking delicious those are. And I'll tell you guys, like, this is just a side note. My husband, like, we prefer these. He just walked by. We prefer these pancakes because they actually keep us full. I don't know about you, but we hate going to get pancakes from somewhere and spending like $5 on pancakes. And then when you leave, you're already hungry by the time you leave because it's full of calories, but no nutrients. Your body is still asking for more food. Not with these. And if you'll notice, here's the recipe. It tells you how many pancakes will equal one yellow and one purple. No, sorry, one yellow and half a purple. So that means one carb and half a fruit. So every single recipe in here has that container count. You can see it up at the top. And guys, these are not like ridiculously, you know, you see a lot of healthy food recipes and you're like, yeah, I mean, I can see why it's healthy. It sounds disgusting. This is oven fried chicken and protein waffles, and you actually get real maple syrup, not you know, the Mrs. Butterworth stuff that's made with high fructose corn syrup. You need to start reading your labels, but actually like real maple syrup. It goes in along with it. There's also, I mean, you still get pizza. They just teach you how to make it in a way that's actually going to fill you up. Let's see, look at a few more things here. Oh my gosh, I'll show you. Here's these dinners right here. Like this, these are steak fajitas. These are a favorite at my house. Like seriously, eating healthy is not, it does not mean that everything from here on out is going to have zero flavor. We love these recipes. Even when people are asking me like what's your favorite thing to make for your family? Or what's your favorite, if you ask my kids, like what some of their favorite recipes are from this cookbook and from our cooking show. And that's another thing I wanted to say. You will get access to the cooking show regardless of whether you choose the path that gives you the cookbook or not. You will get the cooking show with the package that you choose here at the end if you choose that to go with us and really overhaul your nutrition and take ownership of your health. So what she and her brother is a chef, and so he actually came up with all these recipes that taste good, and then she figured out the container count for them so that you can use them. And so they actually have a cooking show, and you can also print off the recipe as well. So it's really, really helpful. There's over 233 recipes on there now, and they add new ones every single month, and they're always really amazing. Like one of my favorites is a chicken mac and cheese, which I can't really have that much cheese anymore, but it's still my favorite. Chicken enchiladas is one of my favorite. Chicken fajitas, anything Mexican, I'm always about that. So you can still have that all the time. And then, like, I'll just give you an example of the recipes. Like here's the chicken enchiladas right here. Like you just print them off. They're normal recipes. They're normal ingredients. She just shows you how to put them together so that you're getting a good balance of all the ingredients and not too much cheese or too much sauce or too much corn or whatever, so that you know you're getting a good balance at your meals. So a few things that I wanted to go over is what if you want to make like an oldie goodie recipe and you're just like, oh, but we really like this recipe and I want to keep it. There are some recipes that you can use that you can like figure out and create on your own. Like for example, I really like sandwiches. They're just one of my favorite things. So I find nitrate-free lunch meat or deli meat, and I make a sandwich because a slice of bread is a carb. And then I put lettuce on there and tomato, and mayonnaise counts as a teaspoon. And then I put, and mustard's a freebie, and I like mustard on mine. I don't know, some people do not. It's fine. You don't have to do that. And I get that lunch meat, and I know 6 slices equals a red container because it's on the list. And I make a sandwich. I can do half a slice of cheese, and that's half a blue container. So it's just, you can create your own things. It doesn't have to be these recipes. And also another question I get a lot is, do I have to carry these containers around with me everywhere? Absolutely not. The goal is for you to, while you're at home, start looking at these, you know, like, yes, when you're at home and you're like making a meal and you make like rice and vegetables and chicken, definitely grab your containers, measure it out and put it on your plate and kind of look at that and say, okay, like, okay, next time I'm out, I need to remember like a carb container looks about that much. And a red container, which is protein, looks about this much. And then my veggies is about this much. So that way you're not packing them in your purse and like at Cracker Barrel, like digging through there and making sure everything's just right. This is for you. This is supposed to be sustainable and not make you a weirdo, so that you can actually learn what your portions look like on your plate. Which, by the way, a normal plate when you go out to eat is usually about double the portion size of what you need. So the good news is you get 2 meals for one price. But the bad news is we usually try to eat that whole plate, because I was raised in a Southern home where you cleared your plate. And so we need to get out of that mentality and start actually looking like, this is 1 red. I need to stop at 1 red. This is 1 yellow. I need to stop at 1 yellow. I need to stop at 1 green. And you just kind of try to get a good mix of the containers at a meal if you can. Not every meal is going to be perfect. Some days you're going to eat 2 blues instead of 1. You know, like there's going to be days where you only got in 2 of your vegetable containers and you couldn't get in the other 2. You roll with it and you wake up the next day and you do your best that day. So this is not like a rigid thing where it's like you have failed and you can't continue on if you messed up one day. This is every single day. Like we are just learning and getting better as we go. One thing that people are always really worried about is being hungry, because honestly, it's because this looks like no food when you're just looking only at these containers. But when you realize that you fill these up multiple times a day, it's not just this all day, it's multiple times a day. It's actually a ton of food. So you will not be hungry. And then half the time, if you are hungry in the beginning, one of two things is happening. Your body, your stomach was stretched out and it does need to go down. And so that is a normal thing for some people who have been way overeating. And another thing that a lot of people have is you're not really hungry, you're just bored. And the habit of eating is your body's screaming at you, your mind, your habit is screaming at you to fill it. And especially at night. I know a lot of us snack at night. And so you'll get up at night and you'll be watching TV or whatever after your kids have gone to bed or the day's over or whatever. And the habit is to get up and go to the kitchen and look for something to eat. You change the habit. You're not actually hungry. This program is designed to teach you, what am I really needing right now? What does my body really need? Not what do I need emotionally, not what do I need mentally, but what do I physically need? Am I truly hungry? Like, if you are truly hungry, go grab some carrots and hummus or whatever you have left for the day. Go get yourself a banana or a bowl of grapes or whatever. That's totally fine. But if you really need to learn how to assess, like, am I really hungry? Is this actually what my body is asking for? Or is this what my emotions are asking for? And that's what's been really cool about this program is I feel like I finally have ownership of like me. Like, I'm taking ownership of who I am and what I'm feeling and what I'm thinking. And it's not just being dictated because I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I know the right way to do it. And so I know how to govern myself. And it's been really, really cool that way. To deal with cravings. So here's another thing too. You're going to have some cravings. Like, you are a human being, eating clean, you do lose a lot of those cravings because your nutrient needs are being met, especially when you start drinking Shakeology and it triples the amount of nutrients that you're getting. But there are going to be times that you're sitting there and you're like, I just really want a brownie. Like, I want a brownie. And here's what's really cool is, once I get there, hang on just a second. She has recipes in here for desserts, and they sound weird. Like, I'm going to be totally honest with you. I didn't make this one for a long time because it's flourless chickpea brownies, and that sounded horrific to me. But it is actually the recipe that my family prefers now over other brownies because it tastes just as good. I promise you. I swear to you, it tastes just as good. And we don't feel like horrible, that like spacey feeling after you eat a lot of sweets. We don't feel that when we're done because there's no processed sugars in there. It just uses maple syrup or honey, whichever you have on hand. And there's no flour. It's truly chickpeas or garbanzo beans. So you really learn how to like make fun things still that still taste good and are definitely still a dessert. This counts as a yellow container, one of the servings does. And, but you just don't get all of the negative after effects that you would if you had just like a normal boxed brownie mix or whatever. There's peanut butter squares. I mean, how good do those look? So you still get to have some recipes that are, that will satisfy that sweet craving. Because sometimes it's okay. It's okay to sometimes at the end of the day be like, I had a good week. I'm happy. I want to come home and celebrate with my kids. I want to make a dessert. I want to make something fun. Let's mix something up and have a moment in the kitchen. And you can still do that. If this isn't like taking away all the fun, it's actually making the fun even more fun because there's no guilt afterwards. Another thing is, what if your husband isn't on board? So that happens a lot. There's a lot of times where the wife is ready to get healthy because we're a little bit more body image focused, and the men just aren't because maybe they don't have, maybe they just have faster metabolisms too. It's just really not fair. But they're just not on board with eating healthy. So here's one thing that I do is we make Mexican dishes a lot around here. I'll make chicken fajitas or steak fajitas or taco meat or just whatever. And my kids will have, chips and some cheese on it and some sour cream. And my husband will make it into a quesadilla, or he will make a chicken fajita with a flour tortilla shell. And I will just eat mine over a bed of lettuce. And I'm happy that way. Or I'll make mine with brown rice, which my kids like the rice too. So it's like, it works. You just make it work. I create meals that are normal meals, that I know fit into my plan. And then I also get the things that he wants. I'm not doing extra cooking for him. Or my kids. I don't do extra cooking. I just modify it for them and have the side items for them that I know that they will like to enjoy it. Now also, we will talk about kids another day, but I also don't limit my kids on anything other than sugar and carbs that are like refined carbs, like wheat and stuff like that. But if they want fruit, I let them eat fruit. I give them tons of vegetable options. I give them protein options, and then I let them eat as much as they want. I do not do portion containers for my kids, and even if I did, it would probably still be more than what they even need. So anyways, the last thing I wanted to discuss, because I feel like this is the hot button, like this is the one where everyone is like, but what about, and it's keto, okay? And I'm never, ever, ever going to sit here and slam something that someone else is doing. But I do want to bring to light that the keto diet was designed for people with very specific medical issues. Does it work for fat loss? Yes, it does, absolutely, because you're cutting out carbs. Carbs do keep a small layer of fat on you, but it is a small layer of healthy fat. So when you cut carbs out completely, you will absolutely lose weight at a very fast rate. The problem is it's very unsustainable. Like, there's just not a situation where you're going to be able to sustain that 100% of the time. Whereas these containers give allowance for a glass of wine here and there, desserts, fruit, and all, just things that you can enjoy in a healthy moderation and still lose weight and still be healthy. And another thing too is that keto, it has not been around for a very long time. Carbs have been around since the beginning of time, as far as we all know. So carbs have been eaten for a long time. If you are a believer in this group, which that is what I am, we were placed in a garden, and I just have a hard time believing that we weren't supposed to be eating anything in that garden for optimal health. And then I have a hard time believing we're not supposed to be eating fruits and vegetables. And so I think what is looking a little backwards for us right now is we are cutting out the things that will get us fast results, but we are not really looking, once again, we're not looking at the nutrient value. There are so many good nutrients in vegetables and healthy carbs. That's the big point here. And fruit. Fruit is the only source of antioxidants which fight cancer. So this is like, to me, I'm like, I can never cut fruit out. They're the only source of antioxidants and phytonutrients that fight free radicals, which cause cancer. Carbs are what help your muscles grow and what help cells form. And your brain is made out of cells. And I want my brain to stay my brain, okay? And there's an argument that it won't burn, like that keto turns you into a fat burning machine, and therefore it will only burn fat and not sugars. Which is true, but only for a small amount of time. There is not enough science out there to support that is much fat that is going into the keto diet without carbs in moderation is a good thing. And to be honest with you, I actually have a very strong belief, which I don't need to go into here, that it's not good for your liver at all, which is your detoxing system. So I think a lot of times, and I've seen this happen a lot, I've had a lot of experience where women come to me and they're like, I did the keto diet and it worked so well while I was on it. And then the minute I got off, I had all these symptoms and then all my weight came back on. And I feel more sluggish than I've ever felt. And I genuinely believe it's because their liver, it was so busy producing bile to keep up with the fat production that it never had time to detox. And so they ended up collecting a lot of toxins during the keto diet because their body couldn't do anything else. It was so busy taking in the fat. So anyways, that was a total side note there. But anyways, that is the basics of the container system. Once again, it's totally sustainable. You can take it, and I even am able to eat like this at Thanksgiving. Like, I know how to look at my plate and say, okay, these are sweet potatoes. There's probably added sugar in this. So I'm going to get a small yellow sized container of sweet potatoes. I'm going to count it as my carb. I'm going to count it as probably a carb and a half because I know it's going to have some added brown sugar in it. And then, okay, I can see some green beans over here. Chances are, if you're in the South, it's probably got at least a teaspoon of oil in it. So I know I'm going to count it as, or butter or fat or something. So it's going to count as a teaspoon. So I'm going to grab my green container with green beans, and or not grab it, but mentally I'm going to grab a green container of green beans. I'm going to count it as that, and I'm going to move on. Get my protein, my turkey, move on. And what's really cool is you can have dessert and it does not ruin your life. Like you can have an extra carb container or 2 or even 3 on Thanksgiving and Christmas and your birthday, and it's not going to ruin your life. You're going to know the next day you can go right back to this and it's going to be fine, and you have not derailed your entire 2 months of work, okay? Another thing that's really cool too is you're probably already thinking to yourself, okay, how do I know how much I'm getting? So you do your calculations, you get how many containers you get of each, and then we have an app in here, which you probably won't be able to see it because it'll be on my phone, but it's called the Nutrition Plus app, Beachbody Nutrition Plus. And then you can go in here and you can actually see, oh no, you can't see it, but it's the Nutrition Plus app, and you can actually see how many containers you have left, and you can log your meals just like you would in any other app like MyFitnessPal or any of those. So you can keep up with your containers for the day. Once again, I'll be going into the kids more because there's an entire section on kids and all of that and recipes, but that is the basis of the containers. There's a lot more I could go into, but honestly, it would probably overwhelm you at this point. So that's the generals of it. If you have any questions at all, let me know. And if you learn, I want you to tell me one thing that you are excited about going into this. If you're going to join us in with this, what is one thing you're really excited about? That's the one question I want you to ask or answer. Sorry.